record us. Hello, everybody. Can you guys hear us? Make sure you guys can hear us and that there's no feedback. It sounds good to me, but let's just make sure.
Nah, I don't hear any feedback anymore.
Okay.
So let's go.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'll just have them here. Okay. Oh, yeah, that looks much better. Okay. All right, they're saying all good, so we can hear and no feedback. Awesome. All right. So we are here. First of all, thank you so much, Bryson Boom Paul, for being here, joining. I'm not a lawyer, but you are a
Hey,
journalist. So we are going to get into all the things that we've been. We talked a little bit about. We're gonna do a proper introduction, and then we'll get into YNW Melly. I know we'll have a lot of comments on that, but first, let's do proper introduction. So, if you can tell us who you are and specifically like how you got into journalism, I personally would love to know.
facts. Well, I'm Bryson Boom Paul, and I'm a journalist. Obviously, cover court cases now, and our hip hop court cases at that. And I've been a journalist since high school. So, ironically enough, it was either picking up trash or doing this newspaper class. So
It was an
I had
easy
to,
pick.
yeah, it was an easy pick. But after that, I started doing journalism in college. And then obviously I was a fan of hip hop just growing up. So I was like, I was reading a double XL or a Source magazine one day, and I would read the reviews on the back, and I was like, man, I could do this. So I did my first review and I posted it online and showed my friends, and they were like, yo, this is definitely like what you read in the
Uh
magazines.
huh.
And I just kept going from there and kept going from there and grew into a career.
Nice.
And now it's like, all right. At one point, I was like, all right, look, either this is gonna work, because I used to work regular jobs too, and
Uh,
then I would just suck at regular jobs. So I got fired from everyone. Like, and I got fired one time from a strip club
a
after I was,
Wait, hold
yeah, I had worked there for like 3 years and I had got fired. I was doing security. I wasn't
on.
like
Okay.
dancing
All
or nothing
right.
like
All right.
that. Like I was doing security, but like I had got fired and I wasn't even supposed to work that
That's
day, and I had got fired.
hilarious.
Right. And then my last job that I had got fired from, I was like, look, either this journalism gonna work out or I'm gonna be homeless. So it worked out.
Nice. And so have you always what got you into covering like court cases and trials and things like that?
Man, I definitely had no plans or no intentions on covering court cases until my friend Eileen Holiday was the one that referred me to do it. She was at Law and Crime, and she was
Uh-huh.
like, "Hey, we're doing these hip hop trials. It's a new trend that's really gonna take off, and
Uh-huh.
I think you would be perfect for doing the correspondent work and doing the like reporting in the courtroom. Have
Yeah.
you ever done it before?" And I was like, "No." And she was like, all right, well, you're gonna try it today. Let's go. And then so I was already doing interviews, because I had done interviews for This Is 50 and for the Source and stuff
Uh-huh.
like that with people like 50 Cent and like celebrities and whatnot.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, I think this is, but it's completely different from doing this trials and court case stuff.
Yeah.
Is completely different from doing like interviewing hip hop artists and whatnot and doing regular interviews. It's completely different, completely.
Say more about, but wait, I want you to say more about that. But before I do, I just want to shout out to that. Let's put some respect on the fact that you have worked with the source. You've interviewed so many people. Like you have a legit like history in this. You're not new to this. You've been in this
Nah,
game. So shout out to that. Definitely props for that. But say more a little bit about how it's different. Like what about it is different being in the courtroom in their long days, their early days. Some days are boring. How are
yeah.
you? How? What about? Say more about that.
Nah, what's different about covering court cases compared to like just doing interviews with celebrities and doing like regular articles and whatnot is like the technicality that comes with it and the emotions that come with it. Like,
Yeah.
cause you got to think about it. Like, you walk into it and it's people's real lives
Yeah.
happening at the time while you're in the courtroom reporting on what's going on. And I'm sitting there reporting on like, hey, the grandma is over here, she's frustrated, she's
Yeah.
crying, or the mom is upset, they're crying, and then on top of that, they showing like the most graphic pictures
Mm-hmm.
on the screen, and then having these testimonies. Like these testimonies is like what can determine somebody's fate, and that's
Yeah.
like the reality of it. And then on top of that, you got the person like normally when people do interviews in any setting, it's like okay, it's something like they promoting the album, they doing
Mm.
this, not somebody like who's facing like a life sentence or facing the death penalty or
Yeah.
like fighting for their life in front of with 12 people deciding their fate.
Totally.
Like any normal person like me and you would be like, I mean, we'll be like, okay, like this is what we watch on TV
Right.
until you the person in the hot seat, and then you
Yes.
sitting there like, all right, man, this is real. Like this is really going on. I don't know what's gonna happen. And it's unpredictable at the same time, and you gotta be on the fly with everything, with the information, with what questions you're asked and what answers to give out. And on top of that, you got to be real specific and real proper with the answers that you give, because them can be used against you, and you can end up being involved in like a lawsuit or something like
Yeah.
that in the end or something. So yeah, it's a whole lot different. It's a way different ball game than just covering regular music news or regular journalism stuff. So
Yeah, totally. I agree. And it's very much a learning for me. I'm still very early on in figuring out what it is exactly that I'm doing. But the
man, you
thing,
crushing it though.
well,
You
thank you,
you crushing it. I
thank
mean,
you.
just reading the court cases and whatnot.
Yes,
You know exactly your audience. You know what they look for. You have been doing amazing. I
thank you.
obviously I got hip to your stuff on people telling me like, hey, it's this lady. She's reading your stuff on
I
reading your
sure do.
tweets on TikTok and
Yeah,
whatnot. And then I checked it out, and I was even now I'm into it when it's cases that I'm not even covering. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Let's
yeah.
or if it's even like the Young Thug case and how drawn out it is, or
Oh
the
my
Diddy
gosh.
259-page document that you read through, I was
Yes.
like, man, I didn't do it, but all right, man, I can just watch her do it.
Well,
So
thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Um, but okay, so let's get into Melly. Let's get into the YNW Melly case. Quick recap, and feel free to interject because you
right.
were there and in the courtroom. Or actually, maybe do you want to just give like an overview of what the charges are, kind of what happened, obviously last year in July about the case itself, and then if you just give an overview of that, and then we can get to what happened after the first trial.
Well, I guess I would say which case are we talking about? Because he got four right now,
Let's start with
right now
the
that he's going through.
let's start
So
with the double murder trial.
okay,
Let's start with
so
that.
he is definitely on trial for capital murder with a deadly weapon, or two counts, and his co-defendant YNW Borland, which is Courtland Henry in real life.
Mm-hmm.
And then uh, he has or it was considered a mistrial, obviously. In I want to say, yeah, it was considered a mistrial. And then they started the retrial process, and now it's currently on hold until they go through the appeal process by the prosecution, who opened up a notice of appeal, obviously, for the motion to suppress through motions 1 through 13. So what happened was they didn't agree with the judge's ruling on several of the motions and what evidence can be used. So they filed an appeal, and now the appeal process has to be go through another court to be decided on if they approve or deny or allow certain things or object to certain things. So we're just waiting on that. Now, while that's going on, obviously they have another appeal process in the uh, civil case, I guess, or no, the witness tampering case, not the civil case.
Okay.
It's two separate civil cases going on, but in the witness tampering case that these guys were hit with in the middle of this retrial process.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wait, before we
now,
get to that, because I definitely want to work through that part. But so for the capital murder charge or trial that happened, ended in a mistrial, hung jury. They all 12 could not decide on what the verdict was. I believe it was 9-3, 9 for.
nobody really knows
That's
what
not
the
okay. Okay,
yeah,
I'm happy
nobody
you
really
corrected
knows.
that.
I'm even from the beginning I was like, that's not completely correct.
Okay,
Like, but hey, we gonna if that's
okay.
what you guys want to run with. So
I've seen a
no,
few articles, but I'm happy you corrected that. So we don't even
yeah.
know how many were for guilty and how many were for not guilty.
No,
as of
not
now.
exactly. Not
Okay,
exactly. No.
okay. But regardless, all 12 couldn't decide. And so the trial, it was a mistrial. And so they went into the process of basically starting all over and doing a retrial.
Correct.
After that ended, a few things happened. After that trial ended, number one, the lead prosecutor, Christine Bradley, there was a bunch of hearings and motions and things regarding that in which Melly's team basically wanted her off of the case for a bunch of like misconduct, and specifically with the lead detective, Detective Moretti.
Moretti.
Okay.
Correct.
So then she was removed, and now there's
Yep.
new prosecutors on this case, on the retrial.
Hmm.
Okay. And then Melly got new attorneys, a new attorney.
He got a yeah. Well, he got three. He got three new attorneys in one. He got three rolled into one. So
Okay.
yeah.
The lead, who's his previous lead attorney, which was David, what's his name?
Yeah.
David? Okay.
David.
So he's gone, and then
Yeah.
Melly has new attorneys now. And so all of that happened. And then there were some witness tampering charges that came about.
Correct.
And what's involved in that is, or who's involved in that is YNW Melly. We should, his
Hmm.
real name, for if you don't know, if you're new to this and just kind of listening, his real name is
Jamel
Jamel
Dimmons.
Dimmons. Okay, I always think of how she said lemons like Dimmons. Jamel Dimmons, Cortland Henry, who is the co-defendant, and then
Correct.
there was a third person who was also included,
Terrence Mathis.
Terrence Mathis. And can you just walk us through a little bit of what the prosecution is alleging regarding the witness tampering?
Well, pretty much for the witness tampering, they're alleging that Melly was sending out information or sending out orders from his jail detainment to through Terrence Mathis
Who is
and
also an
through
inmate, right?
yeah,
Terrence is
who's
an
also an
inmate.
inmate at the Broward County Jail at the time. Well, actually, it still is too. But him through to Portland at this time,
Who is on house arrest. So
who was on
Bortland
house
Henry
arrest
is not incarcerated currently. He's on house
at
arrest.
that. Well, no, he's incarcerated. I mean,
Oh,
he's detained now,
oh, he is.
but he was at the time he was out on house arrest.
Okay.
But he so pretty much how it would work is Melly would give the information to Mathis, and Mathis would give the information to Portland, supposedly,
Okay.
allegedly.
Allegedly. We say
So
alleged around
and
here.
yeah, and Portland would go out and allegedly go out and complete these complete these tasks.
And the task, or the goal of the tasks, what the prosecution is alleging, is to intimidate people who would have come and testified against Melly.
Well, it's pretty much one person. It wasn't like they
Okay.
were trying to get all these people to like, hey, make sure this person is nah. It's pretty much it was Melly's girlfriend at the time that they're alleging that he was trying to get not to her and the mother
Mm-hmm.
pretty much. Obviously, we all know
What
the
happened with
mom
the
and
mama?
Melly's ex girlfriend at this time. So,
Yeah.
or Melly's girlfriend at the time, but ex girlfriend now. So yeah, they were trying to say that they were trying to get them to, do all this stuff to make sure that she doesn't, like, his girlfriend doesn't show up and testify, and getting the mom to say whatever they wanted to say she said allegedly. So
Okay.
that's pretty much what the witness tampering charges came out to. And then with them having uh, alleged evidence that Melly did commit these crimes, and Borland and Mathis aided him in these crimes, is the reason why they're all on trial for it, and they all could receive life sentences if convicted of for witness tampering.
I was reading that the literally they could get life sentences. What's at stake here? If you are convicted of witness tampering, specifically in a murder trial, I believe is what
Correct.
I read, then you could. Oh,
Yeah,
go ahead.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you correct.
Okay,
Correct.
then you could be facing life in prison. So that is what is at stake for literally the three men, and that's in addition, that's separate than the actual capital murder charges that Melly and
Okay. I guess we should say, instead
okay.
of it saying like we can only like they can only get charged with or convicted, they can get life sentences if it's a murder. But no, if it's anything of a capital crime, if they get found with witness tampering for a capital crime, is
Oh,
life in prison.
got it.
So
Okay. Thank you. See, yes, do all the things. Correct me. Okay. Got it.
facts.
Got it. Okay. Okay, so that those charges came about, and then Cortland Henry was detained.
Yes,
Um,
he was. Yeah, rearrest. He was pretty much rearrested.
okay,
Or his bond was revoked, and he was pretty much returned back to detainment
okay,
in Broward County Jail. So
okay. And so we'll get to the civil cases in a second, but both of these um, proceedings were they were trying to proceed, but there are appeals in both. So you talked a little
yes.
bit about the murder trial, those appeals. What's the appeals for the witness tampering? Is it the same? What's happening with the witness
Well, yeah.
tampering?
So the appeal for the in the witness tampering case is what goes from or what's happening because of the appeals that's happening in the capital murder case.
Okay,
So now it's pretty much even with the same thing with the two civil suits. Like nothing can move forward until this capital murder case is resolved,
understood.
regardless if it's innocent or guilty, and regardless of the verdict. Like this needs to be resolved first before they can move forward really with the two civil suits and the witness tampering case.
Okay, so of the four, then whatever when a trial starts again, it will be the murder trial, or is there a world in which the witness tampering happens prior to, or the murder trial has to happen first, or
Well,
is
the
it
witness
just the
tampering, yeah, the witness tampering case was still going to take place, even though the capital murder case was like delayed for
mm-hmm.
whatever reasons before the appeal process. They were still going to take it was going to go ahead and still take place on, like I said, date February 26th.
Right,
And then obviously the appeal process came in and it pretty much blocked everything and just stalled everything until this appeal process is resolved.
okay,
So until this appeal process is resolved, nothing is
nothing,
being resolved.
okay,
Like even when I would post that, or I would post like the scheduled
mm-hmm.
court dates for the civil suits and for the witness tampering trials, and I would get immediate response from the attorneys in those separate cases, and they would be like, "Yo, we're not doing nothing this
This
until this capital murder trial is resolved first."
got it.
Like I don't know why we keep scheduling stuff, but nothing is getting resolved until this capital murder case is resolved.
Okay, and we know appeal processes can take a while, so there's not even a timeline.
Yeah, well, they're trying to do it as I'm still like they're still doing court dates in next week. They're still like I'm still getting alerts that says like, oh, we have a court date set for this week for this day this week.
Okay,
We have a whole week spread out next week with court dates that are scheduled. I don't know if necessarily they're going to still go through with them, obviously because of the appeal process.
mm-hmm.
I'm still waiting on from their attorneys to be like, okay, yeah, this is the date we're doing an appeal process or hearing or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm just as soon as I get the news is
Yeah,
when everybody else gets it.
got it. I read through a lot of the paperwork for the motion and what they were trying to get in, and um I just want to understand if it's connected. So what I was reading had a lot to do with the prosecution basically trying to get, when it comes to like some of the social media, the judge had ruled that there were going to be restrictions on the time frame in which like YNW Melly's Instagram account, like they had basically downloaded from the beginning of time. This is a dramatization, but they had basically downloaded everything on YNW Melly's account, and the prosecution was trying to use any and everything from that download in the trial. And the judge came back and said, "No, no, no. What you can do is use anything you've downloaded from October 1st through October 31st." This is as an example. And so he put these restrictions on the phone records, on the social media, on Twitter, on Instagram, on things like that. And the prosecution, of course, wants to broaden that, and the defense wants to lessen that. And so the judge made his ruling, and now that specific, or those, that what I'm referring to is what the state is actually trying to appeal, right? They're trying to get another court, a higher court, to allow them to overturn basically the judge's ruling and allow them to have that kind of broader range to pull from. Is that an
Sure.
accurate synopsis?
No, correct. That's
Okay.
correct.
Okay.
Pretty much, if you go back and read the motions 1 through 13 that he, ruled on, it's those that some of those are what they're trying to be like. Okay, we want to understand. We want a better understanding on what evidence we can and can't use, and we want to reconsider. We want you to reconsider some of the evidence or some of the motions in with that include evidence that we asked to be used and whatnot. For instance, like the lyrics and
Mhm.
obviously his social media feeds and cell phone conversations, even. So,
Mm.
but what's crazy is it was another case that got overturned like 2 days
I was
ago in
gonna
the
say I
Supreme
saw
Court.
it in Georgia.
Yeah, yeah, that involved a music video. So now they plan on using that case to be involved in this YNW Melly case. That's what his attorneys are planning to use in
Oh.
their arguments for this upcoming case. And obviously, when it's the Supreme Court stuff comes into play, it's a lot of big changes that can swing in YNW Melly's favor.
Yeah.
Obviously, being that a lot of the evidence that the prosecution tried to use were from music videos, documentaries, like things of that sort. So we're gonna
Interesting.
see how that comes into play later on.
And just a little bit of context, I haven't fully done the deep dive, so I don't know if you have more information about the case that just happened 2 days ago. Do you have enough context to explain a little bit of what happened?
I haven't read through the whole to 50. I know maybe it's only 59 pages, but pretty much like from what I've read throughout the news is pretty much it was a rapper named No Cap. His manager got charged with murder. They pretty much overturned the charge based on the admittance of evidence involving music videos during his trial. So being that that got overturned, his sentence got overturned. So
Yeah, and it was only like 30 seconds. It wasn't even long. It was a
yeah, but
very
it was the
short.
way that the prosecution admitted or submitted the evidence that was wrong.
Yeah. Okay.
So
So based on that, um YNW Melly's team is going to be leaning on that.
definitely paying attention to that. They're
Yeah.
going to definitely use that as evidence
Interesting.
in the upcoming retrial. So
Got it. Okay. Got it. And then if we could talk a little bit about the civil case, if we can talk about who is being sued, specifically, and kind of what has happened with that.
actually, it's like 10 people being sued right
Okay.
now in the two civil cases. So it's a what is it called? It is called a I mean it's a wrongful death.
Oh.
That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
It's a wrongful death civil suit between uh YNW Juvie's mom
Who is one of the
and
victims? Mm-hmm.
correct. And I believe the man that is suing in representation of Sack Chaser is his uncle or whatnot.
Okay.
So
And Sack Chaser is
along
the other
with his
victim.
I don't know, it's not his mom, but I think it's his uncle that is the person involved in the lawsuit or representing Sack Chaser in the lawsuit. That's who it is.
Okay.
But pretty much it's a wrongful death civil suit that they trying to say. They're saying that Juvie and Sack Chaser were worth millions,
Mm.
and somebody's got to pay for it because they like to cut short. And those involved in the lawsuit are YNW Melly, YNW Portland, Fredo Banks, the rapper
Mm.
that was that met with Melly and them that night or the night of the murder.
Uh-huh.
Melly's mom
Oh.
is involved. Um, uh, other two YNW members, I believe, Taliban and I forgot what the other guy's name was at this moment. But
Okay.
and then their manager,
Mm.
100K Tracks, and John Doe is mentioned, but we don't know who for
Who
sure
that is?
that is.
Okay.
So
Okay. And so did any of those proceedings they had started. Of course it's on hold now, but I was
yeah,
seeing that some
they
things were
started
happening.
the mediation process
Okay.
pretty much of
Got
those.
it.
They haven't started anything. They got the ball rolling as far as scheduling dates and court dates and whatnot, but it was like their attorney said, like, hey, we can't do anything. We can't move forward until this capital murder case is resolved first
Got it.
before we can move forward with the wrongful death suits. So
Okay. Got it. Okay. All right. Those were I get a ton of messages saying YNW Melly updates, YNW what's going on with YNW Melly? And I'm like, there's not much. Only because it's all
yeah,
on
they're
hold.
trying to from early on and they're trying to get the families are trying to get like over $100 million at most, or not, I mean,
Wow.
estimated like $100 million for their deaths, and
Wow.
they're trying to say they were worth that much as far as like what their plans as
Mhm.
far as their music career
What's gonna be?
was. So they're
Wow.
if they find a way to prove it, I mean, and the jury believes it, then
They could be awarded.
it could be awarded. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right. I think that was the YNW Melly updates that I wanted to get to. I just want to see if there's any questions in the Patreon. Obviously, put them in here. I don't know if there's anything in additionally that you wanted to add to the Y. I feel like I covered it, but if there's something you're like you forgot to say this or mention this, obviously feel free to include it.
A lot of people have asked, like, as far as if he's able to receive postcards
Mm.
and whatnot. But I believe he's able to receive postcards, even though like a couple times he's like his stuff has been stopped here and there, but it's been like small reasons why it was stopped or whatever. So I'm sure they're cleared up now. But I definitely seen a lot of people go and do change.org petitions for him, and
Mhm.
those show a lot of fans that love and have unwavering support for the rapper, and
Yeah.
that's amazing to see.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. I haven't seen any questions. I just wanted to make sure. Um Okay, I think that's essentially what I wanted to get into. What are you working on now? I know you were starting to cover Kodak Black, and I saw that
Yeah,
got
that was
resolved.
yeah, it got resolved. Everything got overturned, so they found out it wasn't cocaine; it was oxycodone. So his attorney made sure to get everything thrown out, and he's a free man.
Free man.
And he's back out here in these streets,
Yeah,
man,
he
doing
is.
Kodak stuff. It's crazy how you get out and you automatically throwing rocks at
Yeah.
people. But not only are you throwing rocks, but you also turn around and giving away scholarships and
Mm,
doing all this other humanitarian stuff. That's pretty amazing. At the same time that you out here having babies and
yeah.
stuff. So, but
This to that point, the other thing that is always fascinating to me is that people who are not a part of the culture, people who don't understand it will take something that they read or see or heard in a song and try to apply it in a way in which it doesn't apply. And so as the example or what I'm thinking about is in the Young Thug trial, the prosecutors had taken Young Thug's Twitter
yeah,
and all of it was out of context. I mean, to the point, and they had literally just done a word search of his Twitter for like blood. And it made me laugh because, I mean, it's not obviously funny, but it made me laugh because I
oh,
tweet.
that's not true. Look, Young Thug laughed during the trial, so
He
you
did.
got it.
He
It's
did.
some
You're right.
humor in this.
Yeah. But I
It's some
tweet
humor.
song lyrics all the time. Like,
Right.
I just tweet them. And if you were to hold me to the lyrics that I tweet, I've tweeted from Wayne to Future to like everybody. You would think I live a different life.
Right.
And
Right.
so taking that kind of stuff out of context is unfair and very dangerous. And it puts our culture and the people in our culture and people who make music and entertainers and artists like in this position that's just unfair and not being done to other people.
Facts. Definitely. You would have thought I was Pablo Escobar,
Listen,
Scarface, everybody rolled into one. If
listen.
we just writing, yeah, no, nah, it was. But another thing that we need to not even, or I think that the audience, not just me and you who obviously cover cases, because I'm sure we already have this realized anyway. But I think we as the audience need to understand like the justice system is there for a reason, but we have to understand at the same time, man, that the justice system is not always fair. Like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we have the justice system because it's supposed to be the medium between right and wrong as far as what happens out here in the world. But we got to understand, man, that, hey, sometimes or a lot of times, there's plenty of evidence of court cases being, I mean, obviously, like we said, being overturned or court case
Mm-hmm.
or innocent people receiving guilty receiving guilty verdicts,
Yeah.
or it's so many stories that you can go back and look at that show like somebody spent 20 years in prison for a crime they didn't even
They didn't
commit,
even
and then
commit.
find out 20 years later they didn't do it and got sent home.
Yep.
Like, hey, sorry, our bad.
Right. Literally. And
Like,
that's what they just be like, oh,
uh,
sorry.
but yeah, we got to understand that really that the justice system is a chess game out here. So you got to. I know a lot of people were like, "Yo, it's not, when this trial verdict came up, they was like, yo, this is fair, or this is justice, this is that, this is that." Like, we gotta understand, like, when we allow court to get involved in handle these cases, you got to understand that not everything is going to be black and white.
Yeah.
Like, everything will, it's up to 12 people to make a decision. It's up, you got to understand, like, okay, well, they weren't able to use this evidence. Like, well, that's just the way the ball rolls. Like, when you go, when you watch basketball games, when you go to watch football games, you see calls that are missed. You see this, that, and
Mm-hmm.
third penalties and whatnot that affects the game and affects the outcome of the game. That's the
Yeah.
same thing with the court system. You got to understand, like, a lot of these cases, like, it may look black and white to you, but it's a lot of
100%.
gray areas in here that ends up having different results for these cases. So
100%. 100%. What's been fascinating as for me, and just in addition to what you're saying, is it really being able to watch what happens when the jury is not in the courtroom, right? Being able to watch lawyers, attorneys argue evidence that they want admitted. And here they're presenting their argument, and the other side's presenting their argument, and most times it's whoever is the most convincing and has the case law to back up their position. But then you also have a judge who gets to make the decision and any kind of opinions that they have. And so watching that, especially in the Young Thug trial, has been very, very interesting. And just that insight. And then realizing the jury's not even in here. They're not even going to consider this. So if the judge says no, they just say no, and the jury just doesn't see it. So anyway, to your point, it's not black and white. It's very gray.
so okay, I want to ask you, what has been your favorite between the two? Which have you more enjoyed, the Young Thug trial or the YNW Melly trial? Or, you know what, in your case, the Diddy and the ASAP Rocky trial?
Child. Honestly, what I really Christine Bradley got a lot of flack on the internet, at least, for the YNW Melly trial. There were a lot of things, but what I enjoyed about her presentation, is that jurors are you and I, right? It's just lay people who got picked to come do their civil duty.
Right.
And so if you recognize that as an attorney and you play to that, okay, you make sure everything is broken down to the lowest denominator and anybody in that chair is understanding. I feel like she did a good job with that. David, though, Melly's attorney was, I mean, really good.
Yeah,
I
yeah, he
thought he
was.
did. I thought he was good until the expert got on the stand. And I can't remember is he a fire? I don't know if he was a firearms expert. But
Yeah.
he was very definitive. He was very absolute, and there was no rebuttal. Like he was so concrete in what he was saying. This shot came from outside of the car, and there's no way that it came from this seat in the car, and there's no way in any world that it came from any other position. Like, that was so definitive.
Right.
So anyway, that was like really interesting. Like, watching all of those dynamics come into play was really interesting for the YNW Melly case. The YSL case is a shit show.
You didn't like the anime reference?
No.
You didn't like? I mean, isn't it funny how a lot of these attorneys are trying to get off of the
Yes.
YSL case? Like, they
Yes.
are trying to be
They
like,
don't
"Hey,
even
look,
want to be there.
I'm I don't want to be here."
Yeah. They don't want to
Or
be
was
there.
it? What about the OnlyFans comment? That didn't work. No, the
No.
public the public
I hope
defender.
she gets to there's a public defender context if you're listening. There's a public defender on the YSL case who what did she say? I can make more on, or she needs to have an OnlyFans to basically supplement the income that she's on this YSL case that's expected to last over a year, and she's not getting paid much of anything, and so she's basically like, I need to have an OnlyFans in order to supplement the income because this is not enough. So, but that's ridiculous. They never start on time, ever,
Never,
ever.
man. And you know what though? I can't even be mad because look, I'll be watching. I was watching it, and I'm like, it's not gonna start on time. But like, man, what do you expect, man? You know, colored people don't look. It's a
You know,
black judge.
you know how we get down,
Everybody, look, man. You know we don't start, and it's in Atlanta too.
and
So
it's
it's
in
like,
Atlanta.
all right, y'all pretty much giving us a like. It's
It's
not starting on.
it
He said every
never.
time, look, we gonna start at nine
They
o'clock in the morning. It's 11 o'clock, and we still ain't started.
and then
And then
he'll take a
what if
lunch.
yeah, what if he just
Yeah.
gets up? Like one time he just got up and was like, "Hey, we're not doing court today." All right, bet. That's like that's black people stuff.
It is.
That's it's,
It is.
like
But it's such
he
a
can't get
waste.
mad.
You're wasting these jurors' time. You're wasting my time because I got logged in to watch this trial. No, it is.
Man,
It is. That trial is. It's wild to me the way that they're putting this on, and if it's any indication of how they're going to treat the Trump RICO trial, I'm like, this is so bad. This is a mess. This is a mess.
yeah. I don't know how that the Trump RICO trial is done. I don't even think they're gonna have it. I think he
I,
just gonna show up, say what's up, like,
and
hey,
yeah, it's gonna be.
and
I
take back off. He gonna be like, I got a tea time somewhere I
yeah,
gotta be at.
yeah.
But
I'm
as
gonna
far
be.
as the YNW Melly's first trial, like I understand what you're saying about Christine Bradley and David. Like, but I honestly
Yeah.
think that Christine Bradley started off super strong
Mhm.
in the beginning. And then after Felicia Holmes, she was just hobbling along
Yeah, yeah.
until they got to the last argument and she showed out.
Yeah.
Now, in Melly's case, look, his attorney was A1 from from the beginning all the way until the closing argument, and it was like, wait, you're not doing the closing argument, but you're the lead
I
attorney. Why are you
know.
not? And he was, nah, I'm gonna let my man's handle it. Like,
Yeah.
nah, like you can't do that.
Yeah.
Like you supposed to be giving the closing argument. But I can tell you guys definitely from the inside,
Yeah.
um, nobody liked Christine Bradley in that room in that courtroom.
Really?
As far as like the not, I mean, not nobody, the counsel, the legal counsel didn't
Uh-huh.
like. She wasn't cooperative.
Yeah, you could
That's
tell.
what it was. But I mean, obviously, I don't have no problem with her. I'm
Yeah.
ladies just doing their job to me.
Yeah.
Like, but nah, it was a different feel compared
Interesting.
to when the new prosecutor Alexandra
Uh-huh.
Buckley got in there.
Okay.
Like, they're like it's a trial, it's everything going on, but they're not like combative or
Mhm.
any. It's like real supportive. It's oddly enough, it's like real supportive between all
Interesting.
the attorneys. Yeah, it's real
Because
supportive.
Christine almost got a Brady violation.
He, I
Or
mean,
did
she
she?
did.
She did. I was going to say almost. No, she did. She
Yeah,
did. That's so interesting. Oh, wow.
but
Okay.
it was like the reason why, like you could tell, like it was so much animosity and whatnot between like Melly's attorneys and Bradley,
Uh-huh.
and it was they really like that was real. They was like, no, like she's a real piece of work.
Oh,
Like,
interesting.
yeah, so that's why they were so gung ho on,
About.
getting her up out of
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
But like she was, I mean, and then how she was treating the people, the witnesses on the
Yeah.
stand, like
Yeah.
even was coming off like, okay, you're a real authoritative. You not
Mhm.
really trying to get like any type of sympathy or support or whatnot. You're
Yeah.
real direct, and people like you're giving off that energy that is like, okay, like I don't like the questions that you asking me. I don't even like being up here right
Yeah,
now because
yeah.
you making me uncomfortable. So yeah, but she started off strong though. The
She
opening
did.
argument was strong.
I
The closing
agree.
argument was
I
strong.
agree.
I mean, for the closing argument, I was like, oh, like man, that was a real good one right there.
Yeah.
But then you see Stuart Allenstein get up there,
Stewart.
and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
and he did show out. He showed out, but
He
I was
did.
like,
But
you're not the lead.
it was
You're not the lead,
surprising. Yeah.
right? it's like the head coach of the opposite team and the assistant coach going at it. It's like,
Yeah.
no, this is not what it's supposed to be. So
Yeah. Agreed. Interesting. Yes, thank you for the inside scoop.
right. I know
um,
because I was reading all the tweets and stuff like that, and people were like, "Yo, she's so mean, and
she was
I hate her," and
people
duh, duh, duh. And it was like, guess what? You're not the only
not
one.
the only one.
everybody in this, not everybody in this courtroom, but
A good amount.
this legal team is not feeling her at all either. Like,
Yeah.
if rap beef was real, it looked like that.
Dang. Well, and just quickly, just because you mentioned ASAP Rocky, there was a hearing this morning actually that I didn't go to, but they are
he
saying that.
didn't.
Huh? Oh, you're right.
He
He
didn't
didn't.
either.
He didn't either.
he
He
didn't
didn't
either.
either. But
Man,
I'm waiting for that trial date to be announced. So then my plan is to be in the courtroom for that one. So we'll see. I'm trying to go. You got to give me all the inside scoop. My Patreon tells me all the time because I'm like, I don't know how to
right.
do
I
it, but
see. I see the comments right now. They're like, "Yo, you need to have her come to the YNW Melly trial and everything like that."
I need
Oh,
to
what'd you
learn.
think of what'd you think of the YFN Lucci's, like, obviously trial that didn't happen?
It didn't happen. That was very interesting to me because I mean, I think it was smart for the deal to take place in that case because it seemed that they had more things on Lucci. But I was interested in the proceedings for that one. I was definitely going to be tuned in just because again, I'm at this point Fulton County is just such is ridiculous. So at that I really was interested in like how are they going to treat that and handle that one different than how YSL is going. So I was interested just literally from that that perspective. But yeah, that's my 2 cents. You have input there?
I was surprised he went from a 20-year sentence to I'm coming home next month.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know what his new attorney. I was like, why you didn't hire him from the
From the
jump? Like,
beginning.
whatever, you sat in jail for at least 2 years already.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, you should have hired him from the jump. You would have been out in 30 days.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
so I personally I was like, how you go from 20 years
To
to next month I'm coming home and I got 20 years probation. I think people need to understand, a lot of, like, social media
mhm.
users need to understand that too. Like, they be in the comments talking about, hey, this is unfair, this is that. You be like, yo, man, it's like, y'all gotta understand the justice system and how it works.
Yeah.
Like, y'all really need to pay attention in these government and economics classes,
Yeah.
man, because it'll tell you a lot about this justice system before you start watching these court cases and whatnot. So
Yep. 100%.
yeah, 20 years to 10 days.
To 10
Hey, cool.
something.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Absolutely.
Like, they told him, like, okay, guess what? We got it. All right, you're gonna do, if you cop a plea right now, we'll give you 2 years. You'll do 10, get out, blah blah blah. And then he hires a new attorney. He's like, oh, we give you 20. All right, bet. Now watch this. We gonna have you home next month.
And we're going to write a letter to the
Right.
board to say that you can get out and yeah.
I'll take a 20-year probation. Cool. I ain't go. Once I'm out, I'm out. I'm not
Absolutely.
doing.
Long as you
I'm
got
going
some
back.
sense and you can get out and maintain your sense and not get locked back
I'll
up, it's
right.
a good deal.
I'll serve my time at home. I ain't worried.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I'll serve my time at home. How do you feel about Bortland in this whole thing with the whole YW Melly trial? Even though he hasn't been as, like, discussed as much as Melly and
Yeah.
everybody else that's involved, but like, it's like, okay, he, knowing that he was the person that happened to be there when everything transpired, like, he is literally the only person on paper that says, like, yo, it was
Mhm.
these guys in the car and he was the one that was in the car, and him going through what he's going through with his co-defendant trial and
Mhm.
whatnot. But what are your thoughts on Portland?
I have a lot of question. I You're gonna be able to answer that better only because I haven't seen much of him. I've seen a couple hearings when he comes in and he don't really talk much because he was at first he was arguing to try to I think like expand what his house arrest, the restrictions were. So I like saw a little bit of him there, but I just haven't been able to see a ton. But I'm very curious what he. I mean, I assume he wouldn't testify, but I don't know. I honestly don't know. You'll
Right.
have to give us some insight.
I mean, being that he's gone through it the whole thing this time, like it's definitely obvious he's not going to testify.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
so it's like, but I would being him, I would be like, dang, I gotta wait for
yeah. Oh,
my friend's trial to be
so
over
over.
before mine starts, and we're in the
Yeah,
same. Like, I would be worried about like, damn, what happens if he's found
is
innocent in this, and then it's all falling on me?
that's
Like they're
true.
gonna be like, it's gonna be if Melly is found innocent, it's definitely gonna be a harder case on him. Like
Yeah,
obviously the prosecution is gonna go even harder and focus as much as they can and all of their resources to, I mean, get a win in this case.
yeah,
While they if they strike out, they strike out. It is what it is. But I mean, in his case, I feel like he he's loyal to the soil, obviously, because he's not testifying and he's
yeah,
not
yeah.
saying like not saying anything pretty much of what's going on. So, or what happened that night at all, nor should he have to.
Right.
But I think he's in the toughest spot out of everyone
I agree.
because he's the one holding everything together. So,
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say something. I just forgot. He's the one holding loyal to the soil. Oh, I can't remember. But yeah, he's definitely in a tough spot considering how this goes. But so do I don't know if you're gonna know this or if you answered this already. What I'm the witness tampering trial I think is gonna be interesting. Like that is going if is it going to happen first before
no,
no, it will
no,
not. Okay.
the first trial that happened
The
first, or
retrial will happen.
the retrial that
Okay.
happened first.
Okay. Well,
But then think about it though. What if they? Because a lot of people don't know that with these retrial processes,
mhm.
it's a guy that did 8 retrials before he was
Right.
even found guilty. So it's people that have done 4 retrials before they were found innocent,
Yeah.
and it's a lot of things that go into these like hung juries and whatnot. Like the state, we have to understand that the state can pick this case up after every mistrial as many times as they want to.
Mhm.
So they can do him, try him 20 times, and he'll still be in the same boat as long as this retrial process is going on. He would still be detained, being that's a capital
Mhm.
offense. He would still be detained. He would still have to go through everything. Like they would be at real. They're obviously real adamant on not giving him a bail or not
Yeah.
giving him any type of bond. So yeah, it could go on for a lot longer than what people are thinking. Like, oh well, this would be already handled and whatnot. Like I said, you guys got to learn this legal system. I just learned it I'm learning on the fly as like you guys as it goes. But like me being a journalist, obviously I can know how to investigate, how to do this and this,
Yeah.
so I know what to do. But yeah, people got to learn this justice system and learn how it plays out here. So
Yeah. I'm actually happy you
in
Oh,
different
that's a
states,
good point.
not in
Yeah.
just California, not just Florida, not just every state has different
Different.
laws and different ways they handle things. So
Yep. I am happy you said that because a lot of people had a lot of questions about how many times can they retry him, how many times can this go on, and the reality is, as long as they want to retry him, and as long as there is a hung jury, we can keep going. So,
yep.
yep, and he will be in jail until then.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Yep.
ma'am. Oh, yeah. You gotta understand, like, hey, being in a gang. I know people think like, oh, well, he did it. He's a gang member. Of course, he did it, or he's in the gang, so that's what comes with. It's not illegal to be in a gang.
And which they have said
It is
multiple times in the YSL trial. Yes.
right. It is not illegal to be in a gang. It's not illegal to be a part of a gang.
Yeah.
The only time it is illegal or offensive is when crimes are committed.
Yeah.
So,
Uh,
or when you are the one committing the crime.
um, I'd love to hear your thoughts because it happened in YNW Melly and it also happened in YSL about gang experts. Context before you go into it, just for the audience. In both of these trials and in many trials, the prosecutors will call what they call a gang expert to the stand, which is typically a member of law enforcement who has worked in the gang unit, who has what they say is the established like procedures or like things that are make a gang or a gang member identifiable. So they come on the stand and they testify about the defendants and maybe something that they posted on social media or language or colors or whatever. And they come up and they're this person who is literally a gang expert, and the prosecutors rely on this testimony to prove that the defendant usually is the member of the gang. There's a lot, I see a ton of comments about gang experts, and I'm just curious about your opinion on them.
They need to do better with these gang experts. Pretty much every gang expert before they, I mean, obviously when they take the stand and swear and they're sworn in, the first thing that usually the attorney asks is for their credentials.
Mm-hmm.
So they ask for their experience. They ask, how long have you been doing this? How do you know, like, what does it take pretty much to become an expert at anything? And most of the time the gang experts give their resume, they give their history, they give their experience. In these two cases, look, man, I feel like the gang experts need to they they deliver the proper terms and they deliver the proper knowledge of what gang signs are,
Mm-hmm.
what this means and whatnot. But what I feel like they lack is the context behind everything. Like they not everything is straightforward that they like the information that they try and deliver. Like
Yeah.
it's like, okay, like, oh, that means just because they're in a gang, that means they do this, and this. And it's like, okay, but you're not understanding why they move this way or why they do this or why it's over here. Like you're not bringing up like, oh well, that is a known area for that gang,
Yeah.
so that is the history of that gang. You're not providing context, like I said.
Yeah.
You're just saying like, oh, they switch out C's for B's. They do this, they do
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
because they don't like such and such. When it's like necessarily like not necessarily all that completely that black and white.
Yeah.
It's way more context behind it. But I feel like a lot of these gang experts need to, being that they're called upon by the prosecution, I feel like needs to be a little bit altered. I feel like they need to be a neutral source for
Mm.
both,
Mm.
not just the prosecution be like, oh well, our gang expert that we have says this,
Yeah.
and the defense has to go get another gang expert to
To
refute
what
what
they're saying.
this gang expert said.
Yeah.
So I feel like it should be somebody who's way more neutral in these cases and way more knowledgeable with the history of
Mm-hmm.
gangs in that area, not just, oh, I know all the gangs all over the world, and
Yeah. Yeah.
this is connected to this gang and this is connected to a bigger gang in this area. Like, no, I think they need to have somebody who's more ground level, who
Yeah.
knows the history of these gangs and whatnot.
Agreed. Agreed. It is always interesting when, um, to your point, it never seems rooted in context. Is I'm just gonna double
No,
down on what you're
definitely
saying.
not.
It
Definitely
never
not.
really seems rooted in context, and it seems very easy to refute. And to the point that was brought up in YSL, some gang activity has become a part of culture. Like they talked about, or popularized is what I should say. They talked about, young Snoop on the stage for the Super
Right.
Bowl.
For the
Uh,
YNW case, they were like, "Oh, Snoop is he did the crip walk on the Super Bowl. He did this.
yeah,
Does that make him like this murdering, killing a
right,
gang?"
right.
And it's like, I mean, I wouldn't have did that. That's not what I would
Sure,
have used
sure.
as far as example. But
Yeah,
I, I mean, I got what he was trying to drive home to the public.
yeah,
So, or to
yeah.
the jury. I
To the
I got
jury.
what he was trying to drive home to them. But like I said, they need to find better experts with more ground level information or knowledge on what's going on in these streets. And then a lot of times it's like I'll be watching it, I'll be like, how do these guys not know the difference between like a gang being like Bloods and Crips, like a obviously a
Mhm.
common gang
Yeah,
versus a street gang? Because like obviously on the West Coast we have Bloods and Crips
yeah,
and whatnot, whereas in the South they have streets. Like, oh, we are a street. This is our street. This is our area.
yeah,
With this, and this, and
yeah.
it's like they often compile them all into one, and it's like, oh no, a gang member is a gang member. You'd be like,
That's not how it works.
all right, bet.
Yeah. Cool.
But
Okay.
you got a lot of questions in here that
Oh,
people
please go ahead.
obviously want to. I mean, no, I'm saying they directed at you. That you got a
Oh,
lot of
what?
questions in here as far as people asking about your journalism skills and how you
Oh,
can get
sure.
into these courtrooms and whatnot. Like
So
we got Kat James. She said,
we love
"Yes,
Cat.
let's get to the journalist side of the interview. How can Mel be down? She needs a press pass."
I do need a. So this is. Let me give some context. So what happened is for ASAP Rocky, when that first happened, I went to the courtroom. I went down to the courthouse and wasn't aware. Okay, I'm still new to this and figuring this out. I wasn't aware
That you
of,
can't just walk into a courtroom.
well, that you can't and have a phone and have some, you can walk as a regular person and you can obviously observe, but if
Right,
you
but you
thought you
can't.
were going to be a part of the media and you ain't submitted any media passes or paperwork, that's what you won't do. So what
Mm,
happened is I walked into there and the security guard was like, "Ma'am, you gonna put that phone away is what you
you
gonna
know,
do." And
yeah.
so anyway, I had gotten on the Patreon when they went to lunch and I was like, "You guys, I'm here." So I am actively, and
Nah,
then I
you
went
gotta have that
to,
pass.
yes, I went to Atlanta because that's where we're from, and I had went there and I wanted to go to YSL. It was a whole situation, but all of that to say, I want to attend. Obviously, like I said, the ASAP Rocky trial when it starts, and one of the things that I am actively attempting to figure out, and maybe you can help me, is how do I get in and get how do I sit with the media?
Well, you can either it's a couple different ways you can get in there. Obviously, um, one being with a media outlet and letting them get you assigned in there.
Yep.
Um, and then two, you can it's a it's a request form.
Uh huh.
I don't know the name of it and I
I have
don't
it.
know the number, but it's a request form that you can submit to the judge to be allowed as media
Yes.
into this courtrooms that you have to submit before the trial begins or whatnot. So
Okay.
I'll find out what the number is and I'll let you know so you can do it. Because I've
Okay.
seen obviously with the Tory and Megan trial, they had like 18 bloggers in there, and it was like mixed in with the actual real journalists, and that was I even found out that that was a headache, and I wasn't even doing court trials before or court news before that.
Uh huh.
So I found out that the bloggers was beefing with the real journalists. The
Oh.
real journalists felt disrespected that they had bloggers in
Oh
here and
wow.
whatnot. So yeah, it's I mean, it's just the way you carry yourself at the same time. Don't go in there acting like a blogger and acting like you are high and mighty because you have this many followers.
Yeah.
Like you have to at the end of the day, you have to respect the the organization and the like institution of journalism when it comes to reporting these cases. Because I think that they look at it as bloggers look at it as content, entertainment, whatnot. But journalists know, like, yo, this is a serious matter. This is something that you have to take serious. This is something that needs to be treated seriously.
Yeah.
So
Agree. And I try to be very cognizant of that. I will say, when I went to ASAP, Megan Cuniff was there, and there were some other people, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm sitting next to." But I have a podcast under reported, which I cover. It's true
yeah,
crime, and I cover people's stories. But at the end of the day, what I always remind myself and even anyone watching and listening is that these are people's real lives, and I respect that. Always want to keep that top of mind. Obviously, I'm making a video, and my attempt is to make things understandable and like approachable for regular people, but it is never to make light of what's happening. In addition to that, I respect the institution of journalism and the fact that people have put in years and years of work to get into this, and I am very new to this and want to just be respectful of that. But I also want to grow what I'm doing and do it in a way that people also respect. Like I want to be able to get the media pass, and I want to be able to report things in a way that is factual, and all of that. So all that to say, Yeah, we trying over here.
and get real familiar with these secure or yeah, not security guards, but get real familiar with these bailiffs and these
Oh,
and the people in these court or the officers in these
yeah.
courtrooms because that helps a lot too.
Okay.
Like that. But I like I said, like I was like you one time. I was sitting there. I went to court one day. Obviously, they ain't never seen me in my life,
Yeah.
so I go to court one day. I got my backpack, laptop, everything. I pull my laptop out, phone, everything, and I'm sitting there. And court starts, and dude or this lady, she must have had just started her shift. She walks up and she's like, "Hey, you know you can't be in here." And I'm like, "Nah, I'm media. Like, what? Do you, I'm everybody. It's a camera dude right here. Like,
We in
I'm
here.
like, obviously, I'm not. Who is pulling out a laptop in the middle of a trial, just like other than the stenographer or whatever?
Yes.
Who is doing this? Like, what would make it seem like, oh no, he definitely not supposed to be here right now? Like, no, ma'am, I got everything.
Yes.
I'm everything. And she walks up and she's like, hey, you can't have any of this out. You gotta have a press pass or you gotta be media. And I was like, I am media. And she was like, where's your pass at? And I was like, oh, it's in my bag. And she was like, so why aren't you wearing the press pass? Ma'am, you want me to wear it right now?
Right.
Like I can show you.
Yeah.
I can. And even the camera guy was like, "Nah, he media. He been here the whole like." And this was like
Mm.
day 4 or 5 of
Ah.
the trial, and
Okay.
it's like, and you think about it, and it's I'm in there, and it's everybody's jam packed in there.
Yeah.
Everybody, families, everybody is in there. And when she asked me this question, and it's quiet. So think about it.
So
She
she
asking
thinking.
me the question, and everybody in the back looking like, "Look at this
Yeah.
dude back here.
Yeah.
What's going on? I thought he looked a little out of place. Like, why is he in here?"
Yeah.
So, but
Well,
yeah, she wouldn't ask me that anymore.
any other advice you have for me as I'm going on this journey?
Hey, bring cookies, bring candy,
Oh.
bring all kinds of stuff. They love that. The
Okay.
officers of the court love that. They love
Okay.
it. You know what's crazy is I
Noted.
saw the it was like the second day of trial. Okay, look. So here's another story that happened behind the scenes that people really. I mean, I think I tweeted about it, but I don't think people. I know I said this before in another interview,
Uh huh.
but look. So this is what happened, right? All right. So it's it had to be like the second or third day of trial. The second or third day of trial.
Okay.
All right. So the way it works is the victim's family sits on this side. Obviously, the family supporting the
Defendants.
the defendant is sitting on this side. All right. So obviously, it's been animosity for the past 2 days over what's going based on the trial proceedings or whatnot. So and like when I tell you that Juvie's mom and Juvie's family and Sack Chaser's family was staring a hole directly through Melly's mom's head
Oh.
and Melly,
Yeah.
like they were making it apparent, like they wasn't even paying attention a lot of times to what was going on,
Oh
like on the
wow.
stand. They was too busy focused on him and being like, "Yo, he gonna see my face. He gonna know what he did to my
Oh wow.
my baby or whatnot."
Yeah.
Like allegedly, that's what they're saying. Like, oh, he did it allegedly, but
Yeah.
like in the family's eye, they like
Just-
my baby's ain't here and he is. So I'm staring at him
Yeah.
until he sees me. Melly is cold focused on what's going on the stand. He not even trying to look in that direction because he already know they staring at him. But like the mom was receiving a lot of backlash. Like they were trying to like make sure they knew like, hey, we do not rock
Yeah.
with you,
Oh
forget
wow.
you. I wish the worst for you and
Mhm.
everything. Like they were making it apparent. But anyways, back to the day 3. So Melly's mom walks in with a bag full of candy, a bag full of Halloween candy,
Okay.
like Snickers, Twix, all that. A
Okay.
bag full of Halloween candy. This is before trial. This is before the hearing even started that day.
Okay.
And she puts it on the table that the officers use. And they like, oh man, great. Like, hey, they going digging through the bag of candy, everything. They over here going to town and everything. So look, I'm sitting there. I think at the end of the maybe at the end of the day, um, everybody no, it was a lunch break. That's what it was. It was a lunch break. So at the lunch break, everybody's waiting on court to resume and whatnot. And the officer walks up to the victim's family and it's like, "Hey, y'all want some candy?" And they sitting there like, "Yeah, we want some."
They
Yeah,
took the candy?
everybody took the candy. They didn't know she brought the
Oh, got it.
candy,
Yeah, yeah.
and they had so much. And the only
Oh,
reason like
wow.
the only reason it's like somewhat humorous is because of
Yeah.
how much hatred they
Had for
like
them.
displayed and like
Yeah.
distributed throughout, just like at the mom and everything. Like when we sitting in the hallway before the doors open and whatnot, they sitting there ready to like strangle her.
They took that
Like
candy. Didn't even
they
know.
took the candy and didn't even know they took it, and they
Oh,
and they
man.
ate it. They
I'm
was like,
sure.
and nobody told them. I just
Oh, my goodness. Oh,
so
my
nobody told them. They
goodness.
was they were just it was tragic. But another thing that happened behind the scenes was the Felicia Holmes after the Felicia Holmes testimony.
Okay.
That
And
was
context is Felicia Holmes is the girlfriend or is the
the girlfriend's
mother.
mother.
Yes, the
Yeah,
mother of Melly's ex-girlfriend who was the girlfriend at the time of the murder when
right.
it happened. Um okay. And Felicia Holmes got on that stand and she
Exploded. She
explode it
dropped.
was
Mic dropped.
yes, she did. Okay, so after her explosive
she made Christine Bradley look like the monster that everybody was
whew,
trying to paint her out to be.
it was bad.
But so obviously Felicia Holmes takes a stand. She does her whole run through with the testimony and whatnot. So afterwards, everybody's leaving, and we're all waiting for the elevator to,
Mhm.
we're all waiting for the elevator, and Felicia Holmes gets on there before Melly's family gets on there.
Okay.
But before like she gets on the elevator, Melly's younger brother, B Slime, she gave him a hug and everything like that. And he was like, as soon as the elevator doors was closing, he was like, "Hey, Felicia." She was like, "Yeah." He was like, "I love you." And he went like this. Yeah. And then
Really?
we all just sat there like, all right, cool. I mean, I guess.
I guess.
Right. But then, like, so I'm walking out of the courtroom with, I don't know if Felicia and them got lost or I don't know, but what happened. But I ended up getting off the elevator after them.
Okay.
And they were still behind, like, they must have gotten lost because they were walking behind me while I was walking out the courtroom.
Okay. It's Felicia.
And Felicia's walking out with her husband yeah, her husband. So they just sitting there. Her husband is like, "Ooh, baby, you did a great job up there today. Oh my God, you was amazing up there. You made that lady look so stupid. Like everything just going to town." And I'm just sitting there walking out.
Oh my goodness.
I'm like, all right, I see what kind of trial this finna be. Like,
Oh
yeah,
my
she was like,
gosh.
didn't I, she was like, I made that lady. I can't believe that. And she was, meanwhile, she was still walking out with the ankle monitor on. I was like,
Yeah.
dang, I mean, but he was like, yeah, baby, you did great job. Oh my God, oh man, I was just watching you work up there, and I was getting turned on.
Wow.
So,
Wow. Well.
yeah,
Well,
yep,
well. Somebody just said any updates on his girlfriend. I remember she did an interview a few months back about why she didn't testify. I don't know if you saw that. I actually think it was on
yeah,
Law and
yeah.
Crime.
Everybody saw that
It
interview.
is. Fair enough.
um, she's still missing.
Y-
Like I mean, she's not okay. Look, maybe I should reword that. She's not missing. Obviously, everybody knows she is well.
Uh-huh.
She is out here living her best life. So
She
I mean,
just
she's
didn't
she just
testify.
she just hasn't been she just hasn't been subpoenaed yet to
Okay.
come to court.
Okay.
So
But she is the person when it comes to the witness tampering. She is the person that was allegedly tampered with.
yeah, they're trying to say that she's the person that they had not
They
or
influenced to
they
not
had
testify.
not do anything to affect the case or whatnot.
Yeah.
So she's out and about. She's
Yeah.
fine. She's just not where they need to be to subpoena her or whatnot. So
Okay.
you can't do anything about it. She was, ironically enough, she was they called her to testify before they called the mom. So we
Ooh.
all thought she was there.
Uh-huh.
Like when they originally called Felicia Holmes to testify, they called the daughter first. So we
First.
thought she was there, and we thought she was about to testify first. And then Melly's defense was like, "Nah, like we didn't have any type of discussion. This wasn't supposed to be. This is not how it's supposed to go, whatnot." And then they was like, "Okay, cool. We'll just go with Felicia Holmes." And
Got it.
they thought Felicia Holmes was the key witness. They thought she was going to be the star witness to, put everything together and put him away. And
She wasn't.
they got a whole different, like when I tell you, Christine Bradley had a whole different like expression. She had a whole different attitude before Felicia Holmes took the stand. Like she had went out there like she was the 49ers at the Super
Ready to
Bowl.
go.
Like, all right, bet here we finna go out here, we finna wreck. Like she finna go up here. We gonna go over here, get this statement, get this testimony, and we finna be,
It did not
it's
go
finna be
that
a
way.
slam dunk, a touchdown case. And she went up there and did the complete opposite of
Oh
what they
man.
thought she was gonna do, and it went from there.
What a time. What a time.
Definitely, definitely.
All right.
I got a question. So,
Yes.
you asked me how I got started doing this. Obviously, I tripped and fell into this, obviously, but how did you get started reading court documents on social
Yeah.
media and take off the way it did?
I've always had an interest in court and trials and lawsuits. I've always been interested. And again, it really goes back to the fascination from the attorney specifically, like being able to argue your point, and you have your case law that supports, and this person has theirs. So that's part's always been interesting. But the reality is, my life took a different turn. I worked in entertainment. I worked at Cartoon Network for years. I worked at CNN for a year ish, and then I worked at Netflix. And I always worked in kids content outside of CNN, obviously.
Facts.
And so I worked in kids content, and so that was just my life, and I was just going to be interested in court. And then what happened is, when I had my second daughter, I was laid off while I was on maternity leave, and so I didn't know what to do. But because I have family who is in entertainment and who have established themselves
Mm,
in a great
do
way,
tell.
yeah, I was able to lean on the on stages. No, my sister, Miss Kev on stage, we started a podcast together after I was laid off. And so while we were doing the podcast, what would happen, our podcast is Gin and Juice. If you don't know and you're here, we were doing Gin and Juice. And what would happen is, because I was always interested in cases on Gin and Juice, we started a bit of a segment where I would start talking about what case I was interested in. So I had been talking about YSL for a long time because it was just wild, everything that was happening. And so one time I covered the case. There's I'm sure you know, the Florida football player who was accused of his girlfriend called her brothers. They went to his house.
Oh, damn, what's his name? He played for the
Yep.
Patriots.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can't think of his
Damn.
name.
He just got. I mean, he got off of it. I
Yes,
mean, of
yes,
course, he got
yeah,
off. So
because
yeah.
they pulled up to his house, and one of them was shot and all of that. So I was talking about that case on Gin and Juice, and a lot of people had been saying on Gin and Juice in the comments, "You need to put this on TikTok." Cat James, the one you called out, was like, "You need to put this on TikTok." And so after the ruling, the verdict came out for that trial, my sister was like, "You should just try it and just."
Travis Rudolph
There
is
it
his
is,
name.
Travis
That's it.
Rudolph.
There it is.
Yep. And she was like, you should just say something like, "I'm not a lawyer, but let me tell y'all about this case." And so she literally sent me a voice note and said, "You should just say, 'I'm not a lawyer.'" So it was the day after my birthday. I had went to dinner. I was in the car with my husband. I just made the video. "I'm not a lawyer, but let me tell you about Travis Rudolph." And by the end of dinner, I mean, I probably had less than 1,000 followers on TikTok. But by the time I finished making that video, went to dinner, and when I had come out, it was at like 200,000 views. And I was like, I don't know what's happening. And so like and then people just started saying, "Hey, can you do this? Can you do this?" So I just started doing what people were asking me. "Hey, tell me what's happening in this." And so it was just like a merging of like my general interests and what people apparently liked, and then it happened.
All right. So how did you find your niche? How did you find? Because obviously you just one day you were just in the car and you just did it and it got. But
Yes.
how did you find your style? Pretty much, I would say like now because you do it now and it's flawless.
Yeah.
So it's
Thank
like
you.
you know.
Um, it actually is a combination of, and this is why I specifically talked a little bit about the background that I have, it's because when I worked at Netflix I was a content executive, and so what I was trained to do is storytelling, is to understand the beginning cliffhangers, is to understand the progression, right? And so what I started trying to make sure I did, don't always do, but is think about storytelling in whatever case that I'm covering, right? And it's, I mean, it is a story, it's real life, but it also, you can obviously relay things in a way that, gets people invested. And so that I try to focus on that when I'm making the videos, is like what I want to listen to this, or sometimes I'll make the video and then rewatch it the next day before I post it just to make sure. But anyway, that's essentially what I was trying to do, is rely a little bit on my content and my storytelling kind of background and the profession that I had. And then in addition to that, what's been interesting is trying to make sure that there's many pieces and parts to me, just like everybody else, right? Like I love a little reality TV. So if there's a Love is Blind lawsuit, I want to cover it because I'm actually interested. But I also care a lot about culture and black people and hip hop, and like I care about us as well. And so I'm interested in those stories and want to make sure that people understand what people are being accused of, and they can form their own opinions. But like, let me just explain to you what is alleged that happened. But then I also care about who's going to be the next president. So I did some videos on Trump and breaking down what that is. So it's a little bit of trying to make sure that like all the things that interest me, I hope my audience is interested in as well, and trying to bring that to the videos. That was a long answer. Sorry.
No, it was great. How did you learn your cues though? Because you be having like your cues down. You
Do
be
I?
having like, yeah, you'll be like, I'm not a lawyer, but all right, we're gonna go into this, and let me tell you, and you'll do like everything that all the emotions like that will intrigue somebody to be like, oh shit, all right, bet let's
you
give me
know
more. Let's
you
go.
you know what is so funny is I try to tell the story and give reactions the way that I truly react. Like when I read the Diddy lawsuit, the parts that make me be like, wait, what? I make sure that like I say, wait, what, in the video, like essentially I'm just trying. And when you think people talk a lot about like what makes you different than this person, or making sure you're set yourself apart, and one, because there's obviously a ton of people who are covering cases and doing all of that. And what I hope comes across, at least in the content that I cover and when people watch a video of mine, is that it is those reactions, those cues, those black and whites, though, like that you get a piece of me in addition to like what I'm saying. Like I don't always want to tell you what I'm thinking, but I'm going to give you a little hint and you can think
Yeah,
what you think about what I'm thinking. But,
yeah,
and so that also is my goal. Like I try to be neutral, but also like, wait, what was said? And you guys can decide if it's true or not, is my angle
facts.
anyway.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Now, what got you into doing the what I think is amazing that you do is obviously with your other podcast, the one
Mhm.
that highlights and profiles missing people.
Yes.
I like the fact that you were
Thank
doing
you
that.
for even knowing
Like,
that. Yes.
I mean, well, is it missing people or is it only missing black girls? I was
So the premise is underreported. So it's stories of cases about. I forgot my intro, child. It is underreported people. So my premise initially was black women and it's crimes. Jesus, it's crimes committed against black women and black girls. That is the premise. I recognize as I continue to do these that there are people who are women who are not just black, whose cases go underreported. So I have a lot of back and forth with myself about if that should be expanded to black and brown people, as an example, because it affects more than just black women. But it is cases, so they could be missing, they could be murdered. I really hope to. There's a case I covered out of Georgia, actually, where the woman was able to escape, and so being able to have those stories too. I try to mix it up. But anyway, the hope was to just shine light on stuff that maybe people don't always get to hear about.
That's definitely great. Being that it's people of our culture, like
Yes.
obviously that are the ones that go missing the most and
Yes.
nobody cares about. But how do you as a mother, how do you read these cases, these especially the missing persons or the miss like especially young black girl cases? Like how
Yeah.
do you do this as a mother and like maintain the same mental health?
Yeah, it is very challenging. Cases that involve children specifically are very hard for me, because I have daughters, and that is hard. So what I have been doing is doing kind of batches where I'll record 10 episodes and then take a break. Just literally for mental health. What I've been thinking about, I recognize consistency is important, and a lot of people are like, "We're on the reported episodes," so I want to do more, but I am trying to figure out the way to do that and do it and remain like healthy mentally. So that is a conversation I have with myself. I also currently am trying to pivot that a little bit where it's not just me telling the story, but I'm trying to find the family members of the victims to come tell the story. Also, because sometimes if you just rely on art news articles, you'll get some pieces wrong. And I've gotten comments from mothers or family members who are like, "You said this wrong." And I don't, again,
Yep.
like I said, I want to be respectful first. And so I want to invite family members on to tell their family story versus just me relying on news articles. But anyway, all of that to say, I'm trying to balance my mental health when it comes to those stories because they can be depressing and get you really in a bad space, especially when it comes to children. That is particularly hard for me. Um, yeah. So I mean, it's a struggle. I'm trying. That's a short
Facts.
answer.
All right, but look, I gotta ask you, being that you have done, actually you've done this TikTok content a lot longer than somebody else
Man.
has done, and okay, so I'm gonna say the who the f did I marry person,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Okay, she did a 50,
Two.
uh,
52.
50. Oh no, I think she on 55 by
Is
now. I
she?
think
She probably just
yeah,
kept
I think
going,
she had
child.
55 or whatever.
Yeah.
But like she did in just one set, not one setting, but one playlist, like just doing this like you did, just
Uh-huh.
starting out, hey, I'm not a
Keep
lawyer,
going.
but this, and this.
Yeah.
Like she did it on her first try. She gets signed to a major
She sure did. She
agency
sure
and
did.
pretty much gonna have like her story told in
Yeah.
film and whatnot. So does that does that have any inspiration to you as far as like this content that you're creating? Because you got everybody tuned in on every bit of information that you give out. So
The difference, I think that's amazing for Risa Tisa. Shout out to her. Give her all the good things in her life. She deserves it. I um am a fan of not making myself the content as well. That is another distinction. I I have a family who is in entertainment and they record themselves a lot, and sometimes we're recorded, we're a part of it, and I don't mind that, but constantly being the content is hard for me. And so while I would love for this platform to continue to grow and for it to turn into whatever it is it can turn into, I personally I don't want no documentary on me or none of that. I just want to be able to like help tell a story, but I don't want to be the story. That's just not
right,
that's
right,
not my
right.
calling.
So how do you handle the demand that comes with this? I guess it would be an opportunity, but how do you handle the demand that comes with this opportunity? Because, like I said, I mean, it was one day that I was doing the trial, and I was like, man, this stuff too much for me. Like, I'm finna just dip. And everybody was like, no, like, what do
Yeah.
you like? I just said, hey, like, I gotta go. Like, I'm finna just check out for whatever.
Yeah.
And everybody was flooding my timeline talking about
Where
like,
you
hey, are
at?
you done?
Yes.
Nah, like,
I
don't like
remember.
keep going. Like, we love
Yeah,
your
I
content and everything.
remember.
So it's like, how do you handle the demand? I mean, you in your case, it was like you said, it's people in the comments right now that said like, yo, she posted that first day, and I begged her because I wasn't
Keep
about to read
going.
all that. Like, so
Yeah, for me, you'll have to walk us through how you handled that because I remember that day when people were commenting. But it that part is hard for me anyway. I'm like, what is the balance? How when do YSL is supposed to go for a year? So y'all want me to make a video every day for a year? Cause I can't commit to that. that's a bit much.
He's like, I
And
got kids.
I got kids and a husband. I got things to do. And I also have other things that I want to be able to watch and recap and care about. I do a lot of Georgia cases, but that Hannah Payne trial where the black man, she shot and killed that older black guy. Like, I want to be able to watch other things, especially things that I feel like need awareness and people need to know about. And so that has been challenging, trying to balance, like, people are, we want this, we want this, we want this, we want this, and I want to give that, but I also want to do other things. So I the answer is I don't know. So how did you handle it? Maybe you can tell.
uh, Honestly, I just handled it like I mean, just based on the experience. I just
Mm.
handled it like that. I would say, I mean, obviously that day, the only reason that happened that day was because like it was a lot going on in his trial. I'm sitting there next to his, like, not next to Melly's family, but like the victim's family, and they
Mm.
going through it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like they going through it and all that. And then at the same time, I'm getting up after in between like breaks and going and talking on live television and whatnot.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then I turn around and go in the comments and everybody just talking crazy about like how I did, and
Mm.
they didn't know that, hey, this was literally my first, second, third day of doing this. Like I
Yeah.
didn't never have no plans. And I when I tell you I was thrown in the deep end, like they were like, hey, guess what? Do you want to cover YNW Melly's court case? Okay, cool.
Yeah, yeah.
They were like, all right, bet. Well, guess what? We flying you out to Florida tomorrow. Or yeah, like we're flying you out to Florida tomorrow. Here's the whole documents of everything that's going on with this
Wow.
case. And just be yourself.
Wow. That's how that happened.
And yeah, and they were like, I was like, okay. I'm reading it like, okay, I'm treating it like I would treat like a news article or something. I'm just skimming through, like, okay, cool. This is what it is. This is
Yeah.
point A, point. And so for me to do live TV like that and make sure that you have all the information and whatnot, and
Yeah.
for people to turn around and immediately be like, "This fool don't know what the fuck you talking about. This is like, look what color he got. Damn, he got
Mm.
a big head. He black as he black as hell. Like, what is he doing?
Yeah.
Like, all that." And
That
it's
part's
like,
tough.
okay, you got to turn around and do that on top of being going back in there, you know, going through the motions as far as journalist goes,
Yeah.
and delivering the information. But you turn around at the same time, and it's like you're hearing this, you're hearing that, watching this lady cry and everything about her baby
Mhm.
that's not here, and
Yeah.
how serious this case is. And it's like, all right, man, like it's not worth. I At that point, I was like, it's not worth me getting
Mm.
ridiculed for something like, man, forget this. I'm
Yeah.
out. Like, and then it's like, okay, after you turn around and you just like, it's like you get a break. You take a minute and you'll be like, all right, man, like, okay, maybe they just doing that because they know I need to, like, I know I could do better. And I've never quit anything
Mm.
that I've been passionate about. So as far as journalism goes and anything else. So it's like, okay, cool. Just take a beat, come back tomorrow, just redo it. And then like obviously I got better and better
Yeah,
and
yeah.
better. I'm still getting better as the days as these trials go on and whatnot.
Yeah.
Now I'm trying to tackle. I didn't even think I could tackle one case at a time. Now I'm trying to tackle like 4 or 5 cases at one time, and trying
Yeah.
to tackle every hip hop case that's going to trial to make
Mhm.
sure that these people get the proper information. Because a lot of times I would see after I would report something, I would go and read all the other news articles, and it would be a lot of misinformation or a lot of one sided information
Yeah. Yeah.
or a lot of bias. Like, and that's, I mean, people have the right to feel whatever way they want to feel about this case and about the person.
Totally.
Unlike me being a journalist from high school, we were always taught that no matter what's going on, you have to remain unbiased
Mhm.
about everything and just deliver the information, which I feel is better for me to just deliver the information, because I see a lot of people like bloggers and other journalists like, nah, I don't like him, so
Yeah.
crucify that man,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
what's
Opinions
not
all.
going on, or I'm gonna just give you my honest opinion about this person or whatnot. But I just prefer to say stay stay neutral and stay
Yeah.
unbiased about everything that's going on and just deliver the information. It's way easier to do that, to just deliver the information than have uh different opinions and different things going
I
out
agree.
as far as, and then that also messes up like the people that are reading your reports or people that are sitting in there like following your story. Now they're forming an opinion based
Right.
on what you
Which,
wrote and
100%.
basically what you said because they follow you so heavy. So
Yep. Yep. I was getting a lot of feedback about that earlier, actually, of people saying, "You never tell us what you think." And I'm like, I know. That's the point. They would
right,
literally tell us, "So do you think?" No, I'm just going to tell you what happened and you can form
right.
your own opinion.
But there is
Um,
a way that you can, you can deliver your opinion just in a more articulate way. Like
yeah.
for me, I sat there and I would think this. So I went and talked to somebody who is
Mm.
head of mental health at a prison.
Uh huh.
And I would ask them, I would convey my opinions through the questions that I would ask them and get their answers and be like, okay, this is why this is this, and this is
Interesting.
why this is this.
Yeah.
So
That's
you
good.
just got to figure out a way to, distribute your information just properly.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good feedback. All right. I think we got to wrap up in here. So thank you for being here, for doing this. This was great. This was fun. We'll have to do it again. Before you
Right.
go, tell the folks where they can find you on all the platforms.
Well, you can find me on all social medias and my name, obviously my name, Bryson Boone Paul.
On
So
all the
for
things.
all social medias. And look, okay, so people want to know why I'm not covering the YSL trial as like compared to like all the other trials.
Uh huh.
One, it's a whole lot of other hip hop court cases going on at this time that require more coverage than everybody hopping on the YSL trial at the same time. Imagine like you said, you went to the ASAP Rocky trial and it was like 18 journalists in that room.
Yeah.
So when I'm covering the YNW Melly trial the first day, it was just me in there
Mm.
covering the news. Everybody, oh no, it was me and one other journalist, this other lady that was sitting like in the defendant's row.
Mhm.
It was me and one other lady. And then as the trial slowly got bigger and bigger and more interest came, then I swear by like the
Everybody
end,
was in there.
every media outlet was in there.
Yeah.
So, but the reason why I'm not covering the YSL trial as much is because it's so many other people covering these trials that are good at it. I just want to let them do their thing and not be somebody who has to pile on and be like, okay, also this is what happens and this and this.
Yeah.
And on top of that, it's way more other hip hop court cases going on at this time that nobody's covering,
Yeah.
that requires more attention, that is of interest. So you
Are
got
there any
K
you want
Flock.
to mention specifically that people can look to your coverage for right now?
Well, I'm starting up the K Flock
Okay.
trial, the one in the Bronx. The guy, he's also going through a RICO case, and then there was a lady in Florida or in Miami, K
Oh,
Vonnie.
yep. I remember
She
that
was the
one.
one that she's about to start trial with the one that shot the manager in the
Manager,
back
right? Mhm.
on
Yep.
camera, and
Yep.
they're trying to give her life in prison as
Yep.
well. So I'm not gonna do I'm not gonna do Diddy, I think,
Mhm.
as much because obviously you got everybody covering Diddy, obviously. So right now, as far as me growing as a court journalist and growing in this genre,
Uh-huh.
I want to focus more on the smaller cases that people aren't covering,
Got it.
so people can, I can get better at it, and then obviously people can have more attention on other stuff that's going on outside of just the big three or whatnot.
Yeah.
So
Got it. Okay. Cool. So yes, everybody go follow him right now. One last question for real, and then I promise you we're gonna go. It's my last one, Cam. um, when people, and by people I mean me, make videos and cite journalists, what is the way that journalists appreciate being cited? I always try to make sure I say your name, include your Twitter, include the tweet. Like, what is the way that do y'all like that? Do you not like that? What is the way that I can do it and not have journalists hate me if I reference their stuff?
I think you do it perfectly.
Okay, cool.
And the fact that it's only you and the not so nosy. I think that's her TikTok, but
Uh-huh.
I think it's only y'all two that no. Cam, yeah, Cuff Boys is the
Oh,
one that does it.
mm-hmm.
But I don't think he does TikTok. He just does YouTube. But
Okay.
like, I think you guys do it great by not only do you guys credit the person and obviously post the tweet and whatnot, you actually tell them, hey, go follow
Okay.
them and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then in your case, you just say like, once again, Bryson Boone Paul with this tweet. Here it is.
Y'all know where I'm
So
coming.
right, right.
Okay.
So you'd
Cool.
be like, hey, once again, I went on here and I found this. This
Yeah.
is it. This is the
Okay.
but
Cool.
no, you're doing a perfect job as
Okay.
far as like crediting the source of
Okay.
your information.
All right. Thank you again for doing this, for being here. This was great. We'll have to do it again. Thank you, Patreon, for showing up, asking the questions, engaging. Until next time. Bye.